34, doing it scared. Today I'm just gonna sit and have a cup of coffee with you. So grab your cup of coffee or tea, your hot beverage, cozy on in here, and let's chat. As I was reflecting this morning before this video, I was thinking about a question that came to mind, which is, has anything changed since you started this? And the answer that came to me was kind of disappointing, which was no, nothing's changed. And then I started to ask another question. Well, what were you expecting to change? And it's really just, it's interesting because, and by the way, there's a couple things there. It's like, okay, well, what were you expecting to change? Well, I was expecting to gain 1 million followers, and I was expecting everybody, that's not the reason I did this. But that does come to my mind, right? It's like, oh, I expected just to blow up and become famous. Like, the ego really quickly is like, oh, this is what you expected. But in reality, I know the reason that I did this was because I know I have something to say, right? And since I know I have something to say, I'm just going to start saying it. And I've struggled a lot with trying to get on camera and say stuff. And it's funny because this is kind of what I do for a living. I help other people say things on camera. It's funny how the universe does that to you. It teases you. It's like, oh, all these other people, they can be on camera because they have something to say, and I don't have anything to say. And maybe I don't have much to say, but it seems like the fact that I'm able to rant for quite some time, and the fact that I've kept this up for 34 days might suggest that I do have something to say. So, with that, have I changed in this process? And I think the simple answer is no. I think the complex answer is that this person who I am showing up on these videos is who I always was. And I think that's a powerful frame of mind, at least for myself, because we often do all these things, right? We read the books, we take the courses, we go to the retreats, we get therapy, we all do all this stuff to try to change ourselves. And I feel like I'm learning that that's not the game. The game isn't changing yourself. The game is actually just going back to who you are, who you already were. I love, I have 3 kids, and something that I continually try to see and watch and understand is, who are they at this moment? My daughter Clementine, she is incredible. She's incredibly brave and courageous. Nothing scares her. She also doesn't give in to peer pressure. And she does things when she's ready. She doesn't need to be pressured into doing things. When she was ready to go down a slide, she went down a slide. When she was ready to count, she counted. When she was ready to learn colors, she learned colors. Anytime that we tried to force her to learn something early, or force her to kind of go our way, and like, oh, you need to do this now because this is the timeline, it didn't end well. She fought. And what we realized, we just needed to kind of surrender. Not surrender to her whims, and not surrender to, I'm not talking about that, but what I'm talking about is, surrendering to her knowing herself. Because she does, she understands. And every time she knows, it's like, yep, I'm ready to learn. And then she learns it, and then she's ready. And if she's ready to climb up that wall at the park, she's ready to climb up that wall at the park. Me forcing her to do it is just her in fear, and her being scared, and her being not ready. But me just sitting back and be like, whenever you're ready, honey, you can do it whenever you're ready. Eventually she's ready, and she does it. I think there's something there to about not forcing things. But the big thing is, I realized that with her, right? So it's like, okay, she's naturally strong and courageous. She's naturally brave. She naturally understands, and she's an intuit. She naturally gets herself. And then I look at my daughter, Ophelia, and she's naturally serving and kind. And she's always lending a hand because it fills her up and she wants to. Not because we ask her to, but just because she genuinely does want to. And there's all these little clues, to who she is. So I make note of them, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna remember, because eventually you might get old enough to where you kind of start forgetting who you are. So I'm gonna remember that too. And our childhood gives us clues to who we are. And people, there's plenty of, I don't feel like I feel comfortable talking about who we are on here, which is interesting, or who I think we are. There's some fear there. Well, anyway, I think that at least childhood can help point us in the direction, which at least points us in the direction of we know, right? We understand intuitively who we are, and we understand our power. We understand that we are everything as a kid, and only when society tells us that we aren't is when we start to get fear and insecurity. Only when society tells us we're not loved and enough as we are do we start to try to conform to something, to fit into some group, to do things that we wouldn't necessarily normally do, so we won't be ostracized, so we will be loved by others. And I find that really fascinating. So have I changed doing this? Not really. I've just continued. This just helps me continue to step into who I am. And I don't know what it's going to look like at the end of the 100 days, but I do know that I'm excited to see what it's going to look like. And I'm excited because I have all these different ideas of what it could look like. And I don't think I'm going to continue this exact thing after 100 days, but I do think that I'm going to continue to talk. I'm going to continue to talk. Because I think I have something to say. When I pause and I sit here on a video and I get nervous. Like, that makes me nervous. My body tenses up and I'm like, oh man, I gotta have something to say. I just said I think I have something to say, and then I just blanked on what to say. But it's like, that's the thing. That's the thing about this whole doing is scared. It's like, you have to be willing to sit with the uncomfortable pauses, the uncomfortable silence, so to speak, the awkwardness of being a human, and be okay with whatever comes out. And sit with it in non-judgment and realize that, you're a human who makes mistakes and messes up. And if you're a human that doesn't mess up or doesn't make mistakes, I think you're lying to yourself. Which is okay. That's your journey. So yeah, I just think it's just like being comfortable. And I think, if anything, I've stepped into with this is just that I've become more comfortable on camera. I've become more comfortable with myself, with the way I look. Interestingly enough, it's funny that I started this series and I had a beard, because I didn't really have a beard. This is the longest beard I've ever had. This is close to the longest my hair has ever been. And I don't love it. And then people will go, why do you keep that thing then? Why do you keep it if you don't like it? It's an interesting experiment for me. I was really heavy and overweight and fat, and I really cared about the way I looked for so long. And I went on that whole treadmill, literally, because I lost a bunch of weight, but also I just that treadmill of getting people to like me by the way I looked. And what a silly game. Because really it was just me trying to get myself to like myself the way I looked, right? It's just accept, this is my body, this is my face, this is how I look. And that's okay, and I'm beautiful as I am. So me growing this beard has been kind of an experiment in that. And every time I look in the mirror, I'm saying, you're loved, you're enough. Because I think I look better with it shaved. But I still love myself. And it doesn't matter what this looks like, really. It doesn't matter. It can have scars on it. It can be wrinkly. It can age. But that's not, this meat suit isn't who I am. So it's just another experiment in remembering. There's so much beauty in the world. And I think often we get caught up in something. We think that something has to look a certain way to be beautiful. But that isn't true. And there's beauty in everything. There's beauty in a square. There's beauty in a messy shape. There's beauty in dirt. There's beauty in scars. We're all just humans floating on this planet, and there's just beauty everywhere. So anyway, I think that's about all I've got today. It's just that, have I changed? No, but I've stepped into more of who I already am. And I want to encourage you too. I just want to encourage you to do the same. Like, whatever that dream is that you're chasing, or that you haven't chased, that you want to chase, go after it. You are here for one time around that we know of. There isn't a reason. The only reason that you're holding yourself back is because of fear, and I get it. It is tough. And that's why I've called this Doing It Scared, because you need to just step out and do the thing scared. And who knows what's on the other side. It might get worse before it gets better. But maybe that's the thing you need to go through to become your fullest potentiality. Maybe that's the thing you need to go through. And I know it's like, I don't like to tell people to go through pain. Like, ooh, that's not fun. But I think a part of being human is like going through that struggle. It makes us who we are. And how we react to those struggles and how we keep pushing through those struggles makes our impact in our own lives stronger. It makes the impact in the lives around us stronger. You get it? It's tough. It's hard. It can be. It's a label too, but anyway. Step out. Do the thing you're scared to do, that you know you want to do. This is your sign. Go for it. Thank you for making it 12 minutes. Again, it's just crazy. And I say this a lot on these videos, but it's crazy that you can just talk for 12 minutes. I think it's crazy. Ask me a year ago. I mean, frankly, a year ago, I tried several times to get on camera and talk and just blanked. Because I was so worried about the perfect words, and I was so worried about doing the exact right thing and the exact right time, because it's like I've seen all the creators, and I know that, you need to have the cadence, you need to have the hook, you need to have the story, you need to have, that middle, that overcoming, like all the stuff, right? All of that, a whole story arc. And that kept me from just speaking. So it's like, now I just get on here and speak. Who cares? Get on here and speak. It doesn't need to be perfect. Eventually, if you want to create some compelling stories, some compelling lines, some compelling hooks or whatever, fine. It's not where I'm at right now, and that's okay. It's just about doing this thing scared. It's about doing the thing anyway, despite the fear, despite all the excuses and everything that's holding you back, and not having the time and traveling and all this stuff that gets in the way. It's about doing it anyway. It's about doing the thing. Do 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 it. A lot of ways, I'm going to be 31 in a month. Less than a month. And I've held myself back from so many things. And I'm still holding myself back from things, for sure. And it's a lot of fear because of a lot of different all excuses, right? And it's fear of the unknown future. But the reality is we don't know the future. You can stay in a comfortable, certain future, which is where I've been for the last couple of years. I'm like, I'll stay here because, I'm making X amount of money, and I don't know if I can make more. And if I step out, then maybe I won't make enough, and maybe we'll be homeless, and I've got a family to feed. I've got a family to take care of. And if I'm not, it's just an example. This house I live in, I've stayed here for way too long. It's interesting because, there's plenty of people, and I have it so good, and I'm very grateful for this house a lot of days, but I've stayed in here for so long because I'm so scared of moving out and having higher bills to pay. And it's like, well, because I'm very comfortable with the amount I pay now, and feels like it gives me some freedom and flexibility, some breathing room. If I lost the job, if I lost all contacts and all money overnight, I could survive for a few months, 6 months, 8 months, and be okay. But if I move out of this and increase my expenses everywhere, how am I going to survive anything? I don't know. To increase the amount of money I make, which also I have a weird relationship with and a weird feelings towards. There's a lot of deserving things. There's a lot of things that I feel like, I need to have the right skills, and I don't have the right skills. But I guess this is the whole point of this series. Ultimately, is to really convince myself that it's time to move out of here. That it's time to move to the next thing, that I can have a bigger house, that I don't need it to be small. And it's not a bad thing to have a bigger house, even though there's part of me that maybe feels that way. Wow. Hear all my kids upstairs going crazy, so that's probably a sign to be done talking today. But if you made it this far, thanks for watching. It's just the encouragement of just doing the thing. Encouraging myself to do the thing, encouraging you to do the thing, and whatever's the smallest step, right? Because this video stuff, I guess, was the smallest step for me. So here I am doing the smallest step, and it's going to lead to a bigger step into something else. And I'm excited to see what that is and where that goes and all this stuff. But also I'm just excited to be here in the present moment right now. And even though I have anxiety about what I've got to do today and tomorrow and all the work and all this stuff, I'm just grateful. Have an awesome day. You are loved. You're enough. As you are. It'd be hard to believe, but it's true.